Welcome to Keepin' It Real, your go-to radio show for fresh insights and vibrant introductions. Get ready to dive into a world where we offer you the latest in real estate wisdom and the juiciest community tidbits. From expert advice courtesy of top realtors to opportunities to give back through local charities, we've got you covered. Plus, we'll shine a spotlight on the young athletes driving our local sports scene and uncover the buzzworthy happenings both in town and beyond. Stay tuned for a jam-packed hour of enlightenment and entertainment right here on Keepin' It Real.
What's in a name? Everything. Long Realty has been a cornerstone of Southern Arizona's real estate market for nearly 100 years. Our name is our bond, and our agents are our strength. Trust in the name that stands for experience and expertise. Visit longrealty.com or call 520-459-4993 to connect with an agent today. Long Realty. Smart move.
In a town with heart and history, the Sherry Ethell Team is the key. Serving service that we agree for military law and retirees. Stress-free process you will see. Personal care is our guarantee. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team, we never halt. Real experts here to guide your way, making dreams come true every single day. Trusted team that knows just what to do. The Sherry Ethell Team, working for you. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team is your one and only call.
All right, good morning and welcome this Saturday morning to Keepin' It Real. Brought to you by the Sherry Ethell Team right here at Long Realty Studios behind Denny's on Fried Boulevard. And I am joined with several people today. Of course, I've got the lovely Lisa Gustafson from CoolFM, and she's here co-hosting with me.
Thank you. I'm always happy to be here and do this with you. It's always fun.
It's always fun. So, but I've also got a couple others here. So I've got Abby Dodge. She is from CASA. CASA is the court-appointed special advocate. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
And you are the CASA director, correct?
Yes, I am, and thank you for having me this morning.
Oh, we love having you. And we've also got, which is kind of fun too, Karen Spitler. She's the CASA volunteer, and so she's going to give us a little bit of insight from the volunteer side. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Okay, so today I've got lots of questions, everything, but before we do that, we want to get to know you a little bit. You know, let's go ahead, Abby, and start with you. Abby, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been here, for starters?
I've been in Sierra Vista since 2009. I got here because of the Army, came here with my husband, and now we're here, even though neither of us are in anymore.
Okay.
We stayed.
You were Army as well?
Yes, we both were.
Well, you both were. Oh, well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And so now you're giving back to the community in a different way. And tell us, what drew you to this?
So when I moved out here, I was on active duty. I came out here. I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
I was kind of bored. My husband had one right away. I was looking for one. But when I was on active duty out in Massachusetts, I have a really good friend of mine who adopted her niece. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of there with her that whole process going back. Her niece was born substance exposed to cocaine.
Oh, wow.
And I kept flying back and forth to Wisconsin from Massachusetts to go to court and to help her through the process and try to figure out how they were going to be able to finalize this adoption. And they didn't have involvement with the child welfare system. It was done a private adoption, but there were still several hiccups along the road. So then that got me thinking, who is actually speaking up for these kids when they go through these situations?
Oh, wow.
So when I got out here and I didn't have a lot of things to do and I didn't know anybody, I started researching volunteer opportunities, and I landed with CASA. So I started as a CASA volunteer myself in 2010.
Okay. Well, that's very cool. Let's turn to you a little bit and just talk a little bit, Karen, about your background. How did you land here in Sierra Vista, and how long have you been here?
My husband and I moved here in August of 2022.
Okay.
For 23.
So only a few years.
23.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you like it so far?
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. You know, I find in my way. It's different.
Where did you come from before?
We lived in Tempe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Arizona, but okay.
Yeah, still Arizona. And we came here because we have good friends here. My friend I've noticed since high school. So
Oh, wow.
we go back a long ways.
Okay.
And we always would come and visit, and we really liked it. So we
You moved
decided we wanted to make a move. So we decided to move to Sierra Vista.
Now you're retired now. I think we talked about this
Yes.
before the show, but what did you do before?
I was an adult probation officer for Maricopa County for 20 years.
Wow.
Wow.
That
That's
is a
amazing.
tough job.
For sure.
It was a great job. I loved it.
yeah.
What a perfect segue into just
Yeah, what you're
what I
doing
know,
now.
right?
Yes.
So how did you get involved with CASA? How did you
well,
figure that out?
A friend of mine has been doing it for a long time.
Oh,
and She
okay.
always spoke highly of it. And when I moved here, I felt quite bored, actually. You know,
Yeah.
I was used to a certain level of activity and stress almost.
Yeah.
And so to have virtually nothing was unusual.
Right.
So, and I love kids, and I really understand the huge need. And I always worried about what happens when a child enters into this almost nether world. It's not quite foster care yet,
Okay.
but it is because they're still trying to get reunified with their families. So, you know, and they just need someone kind of steady and involved, I think, to help them just have someone they know and can trust.
Certainly a voice for them, because I think we had discussed before, once a child goes into the system and is placed in any type of this situation, Abby and I had discussed before, everything changes.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So what a difficult time for them. So you really are truly their voice, right?
Yes, yes. I try. But there's a lot of people involved.
Absolutely.
yeah.
I would love to know how that starts off, if that's okay
Yeah,
with you, Dion.
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
once that the case is initiated, who really takes over, Abby? You know, once a case is put into play, walk us through why the CASA volunteers are so important.
So, when a child comes into state custody or they're removed from their home for an allegation of abuse or neglect, they're placed into either a kinship home, so somebody that the family knows, the children hopefully know, and it's kind of a familiar face, or a foster home, or even some level of congregate care like a group home, something like that, depending on what's available and the needs of the child. So, from that point, they meet their first child welfare investigator through that process. They are assigned an attorney, they change homes, they might change schools. They have their first court hearing, at which point they meet their second child welfare worker.
Oh, wow.
The
Good grief.
parents each have an attorney. If they're able to stay in one place for the length of the case, that's wonderful, but oftentimes they move from one placement to another.
Right.
So there's another new face that they're learning. So there's just a lot of people that come into their lives. They'll be working with a counselor or therapist. They might have other services provided to them that they meet new people for. And those faces change. There's a lot of turnover in this environment.
So is the
It's hard
advocate
work.
kind of like the steady, face that they get to see that guides them through the process?
We hope that that's the case. Yes, we try to keep the same volunteer working with the same child for the length of the case, so that no matter what happens that next day, if they have to move schools or if they have to move homes or whatever happens, they can pick up the phone and call that same person and know that this is still my person and this person can still be there to support me through this.
I can't even imagine, and because this is children from a very young age, correct me if I'm wrong, from babies all the way up to, 17-year-olds.
Yes.
What a transition for them. And so people like you that come in, Karen, and do this volunteer work, that is such a testament to the type of individual that you are, because that is tough. You've got to see it all, and you've got to be the brave one and the constant one, because they probably don't have a lot of constant in their life, especially when this all changes for them.
It's true. It's just really hard to imagine being a little one and having your whole life turned upside down. And it takes some time to develop the relationship, but I think once you have it and you spend the time with the child and get involved in their life, it's so positive. They really respond well.
Yeah.
I bet.
I'm sure it's probably very needed for them. They need the anchor. You mentioned about that you hope that at least that you can be able to have the volunteer kind of be that familiar face throughout the whole case. How long do these cases typically last? Are some of them very short? Are they very long?
A great question.
What's that look like?
So some of them can be very short. Those often don't get CASA volunteers because
okay.
it looks like from the beginning that the children have a really good chance at going back home to their parents and that things are going to be okay. So we try to reserve our volunteers for the more difficult cases where it seems like it might take more time and the parents have more challenges that they need to overcome. So we do have cases that last for several years.
Wow, years.
We had one finish up last year that was open since 2013, and the CASA got involved later on in the case because she was newer to the program. But she was working with the same teenager for 7 years before the teenager turned 18.
Wow, that's a commitment.
Yes.
Yeah. You ready for that, Karen?
Right.
If need be, I think I would do it.
Yeah.
Because I feel a real commitment myself to, not disappear on these kids.
Yeah. Well, that's real service, right? I mean, and then to be children involved, right? That's even more, I guess, it drives you probably to be there for them because they just don't have somebody else.
I mean, I want them to grow up and have a good life and have a good outcome.
Right. Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I'd like to hear about, Karen, I'm going to turn to you a little bit and just kind of figure out, what's it take to become a CASA volunteer? What kind of training do you go through and all those kinds of things? So we'll ask you a few questions, but right after these messages. Folks, we'll be right back with Keepin' It Real, brought to you by Sherry Ethell Team right here at Long Realty. We'll be right back.
Discover excellence in real estate with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty, your premier choice in Cochise County. Sherry's amazing team brings honesty, expertise, and a deep understanding of the local market. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned homeowner, they're committed to your peace of mind and handle every detail for you. Their approach? Personalized service, above and beyond transactional real estate, building lifelong relationships, nationwide connections, local expertise. There's a reason this team is amongst the top realtors in Arizona and across the nation. You owe it to yourself to call or visit the Sherry Ethell Team, the top team at Long Realty, behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard in Sierra Vista. Call or text 717-599-2439 or Google us for more info. Real integrity, real results.
All right, welcome back to Keepin' It Real. I'm Dion Ethell, and I'm your host, and I'm co-hosting today with Lisa Gustafson from CoolFM.
Hello, hello.
And we've got some wonderful guests in here from CASA. And if you're just tuning in, CASA is the court-appointed special advocate, and that's what it stands for. And we've got Abby Dodge, the CASA director, and Karen Spitler from, she's actually one of the volunteers, and we're learning all about what CASA really is. And so it's a great opportunity to kind of pick your brain about this, Karen. What was the training like when you first started this adventure? And I imagine that, was there an interview too, even before that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It all happened very quickly. I mean, I think Abby and Lizette, who works with Abby, they respond very quickly to requests for information. And once you complete your application, you get an interview, you do a polygraph.
Oh, wow, there's
a
poly.
background check. And then you have to wait till the next time one of the training classes starts, which they run, I think, at least once a month. And I chose the one to attend in Phoenix, and it was 3 days. And it was very fast-paced. There's homework to do.
Full days?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I thought the training was really good.
And there are options for other training if you don't want to do the full day. Can you also do the training online or in different segments?
Yeah, we have what we call the flex training. It's
Okay.
kind of like doing an online college course. You have a 3-hour Zoom session with other volunteers throughout the state, and then you have about 3 hours of homework weekly prior to that next session, and that spans over 5 weeks.
Okay,
so
so
a little bit
people
longer.
can't, if they aren't able to get in and do 3 full days. But you chose the 3 full day.
I did.
Was it a lot? I mean, it was like drinking from a fire hose, probably, right?
It was a lot of information, but again, the way they deliver the information, and it's very interactive. It was one of the best trainings I've ever been to in my
Really?
life.
Wow,
Yeah, I have to
That
say,
says a lot,
Especially
having
being
your
a
background.
probation officer, yeah.
I did a lot of training for that, true.
Did that help you at all? Prepare you kind of in some ways, just
think so.
mindset-wise?
I think so because I'm used to a case management experience.
Right.
And kind of setting deadlines, so now I can set them for myself as
Okay.
far as how often I want to see the children, who else I need to meet with to understand what their needs might be.
Sure.
And just, I guess, maybe even feeling brave enough to make the calls to these different agencies or schools or whatever, because it's not always easy to get through.
Yeah. We weren't even, I wasn't even thinking of that. That's your job, right? As you are involved in these cases, you have to make those calls. And it's not just hanging out with the children
No.
and being their voice and trying to keep a normal routine for them. You also do have to get involved and really know what's going on.
Right. We attend court hearings. We write reports for the court. So you're also kind of the eyes and ears, I think, on behalf of the judge. As
Right.
to,
I would think that background that you had, too, will help in that respect because
Yeah,
you've done
sure.
it professionally already, so you kind of understand that process.
I feel it helps, but it's certainly not necessary.
Not necessary, yeah.
No.
Well, so tell me this. You kind of mentioned a little bit about how you got involved and everything, but what do you hope to get out of it? I mean, what's the big draw for you to really, now that you've gone through all the training, you've done all this, I think we had talked, have you got your first case yet?
Yes, I do. I have a case now. I met my clients, I call them clients.
Sure.
When they,
Yeah.
about in October,
Yeah.
early October.
And we won't get into the details. I won't ask you any questions for like that because we don't want to betray that trust. But I just kind of want to ask, walk us through like some of the things you would actually do with children. Like what kinds of things would you be doing with them?
Well, my contact with them is as I think, fun aunt in a way.
Okay.
I mean, I'll pick them up and then I will take them to the library and they can choose if they want to look for books. They usually want to do the tablets,
Sure.
Okay.
This week we went to Jump and Play.
Oh, so they get to
Okay.
do some fun stuff too.
Yeah, we go to McDonald's to Playland.
Yeah.
Or Colors because they have sprinkles on their ice cream.
And how often do you get a chance to connect with them like that?
I choose to spend time with them every week.
Okay.
But again, everyone is different. There's minimums,
Okay.
contacts.
Sure.
I was
essentially.
going to ask you that, Abby. What is that for your volunteers? I mean, how do they determine some of that, or do you determine that?
So they set their own schedules because they are volunteers, but
Sure.
we do require in-person contact with the child at least one time per month.
Okay. So you're going above and beyond and trying to build. I'm assuming you're trying to build that connection between them and try to get to know them.
Yes, I think it really helped just lend a sense of additional stability. I mean, they're lucky they have a solid place to live.
Of course.
And it's going well.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I wonder about trying to, you're kind of a stranger coming into it. And so just trying to build that rapport with them, especially, I think, Abby, you had mentioned some of these come from some potential hard situations that really, I'm sure, have some trauma involved.
Right. Every child that comes into the system has experienced some level of trauma. So
Okay. That's a good
getting to
point.
know them and building that trust and showing that you aren't somebody that's going to let them down can be really challenging.
Yeah. So do you then also, Karen, do you go through and go to the court
The hearings.
appearances and everything? Do you go attend those as well?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And some of them require reports to be written, but not all of them.
And do the children have to go to those too, or is it just really the advocate who's representing them?
Well, the whole team is there basically.
Oh, okay.
Because the DCS caseworker will be there. I'm there. Their placement should be there. The attorneys are there. The parents are there. And usually there's reports provided from the other service providers, like if they're in therapy or special daycare or whatever.
And how often are those kinds of court appearances happening? Is that regular? Is that throughout the process? Or is it...
by statute, we have to have a review hearing on every case in this system every 6 months at a minimum.
Okay.
They're usually a little more frequent than that, just to make sure that the case is moving along and that everything's being provided that needs to be provided. But it has to happen at least once every 6 months.
And this is for children that have specifically been taken away from the home.
Yes.
Correct. So these are, my guess is, some pretty serious allegations because you never want to separate. I know, we've talked about so
Families,
many times.
yeah.
You always want to keep the families together. So for you to be involved and for those children to be removed, this is a serious situation. And so without question, they need people in their corner. And I think that's why the volunteers are so incredibly important, as well as the program itself.
And as far as the program goes, let's talk about that a little bit, Abby. How is that run? Are you a nonprofit, or how do you be able to keep this thing running?
So this is actually pretty interesting. I think our funding comes from the Arizona Lottery. So
Really?
30%, 30% of all unclaimed lottery winnings is the primary funding source through the legislature for all of the CASA programs in the state, and we have one in all of the 15 counties.
I love that.
So whoever's playing the lottery and winning
you are a supporter
and not getting their money, we really love you.
So I can say I support CASA because I'm constantly buying tickets.
So
although I'm never winning.
You will sometimes see advertisements on those little lottery ticket sales boxes in the different stores. The Arizona Lottery is a huge supporter.
Okay. Well, and honestly, I'm notorious. I actually I was pulling out a suit, and I found some lottery tickets, and of course they're expired. And I found some other ones. I was just thinking of you guys. I was like, I have no idea if I won anything, but if it goes to a good cause, I guess it's okay.
I feel so much better now. Yeah. I'm like, that ticket I had to throw away.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. I'm super bad about that. I buy these lottery tickets and I can't find them because I tucked them in a pocket somewhere, and then lo and behold, I find them in a suit or a vest or something later.
Well, we appreciate you.
She appreciates the heck out of that.
Good. I'm glad it's going to a good cause. But and I never win any serious money,
Right.
so it's probably a few
We've
dollars
never
here
left
and there.
$1 million on the table or anything.
That's
not
too
that
bad.
lucky. I'm not that lucky. Yeah, well, that would be awesome for you guys, I guess. So tell me a little bit about, too, how is since you're in every single county, how is that structure then? How is it run? You're a director. Does each county have a director, or is it by a different breakout? How does that work?
So we have the CASA of Arizona program, which is run up in Phoenix at the Supreme Court. And then each county has our own local program. So we're CASA of Cochise County. And depending on the size of the county really dictates what level of employees they have and how many coordinators, how many support staff, that kind of thing. And it really depends on how many volunteers there are for how many staff that the state will provide for us. They keep us to pretty strict ratios and minimums in order to have more people working.
Well, the last question before we take a break then, how many people are working out of this office then in terms of volunteers and staff?
So paid staff, there's myself and there's another coordinator who is full-time. I have other hats as well, so I'm half-time CASA. And then we have a part-time support staff who does our admin, uploading all our disclosures and helping with the application process, that kind of thing. And we currently have 33 active CASA volunteers, and we have 4 that are finishing up training at the moment.
Okay. Is there a number that you're trying to get to in terms of volunteers? I don't know how that demand is.
There's not really a magic volunteer number. Our dream would be to make sure that every child that came into the system in Cochise County could have a CASA. So currently we're supporting 28% of our kids.
28%?
Yes, which is a really high percentage for the state. but it's still
Still
such
low
a big need
compared to what you need.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. I'm going to have to wrap my head around that.
We'll come back to that
We'll
one.
come back. Definitely going to talk about that when we come back. Folks, we got to take a break. This is the Sherry Ethell Team. I'm Dion Ethell, your host, and we'll be right back after these brief messages. We'll be right back. Welcome to an exciting new chapter in real estate marketing with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty. We're thrilled to introduce our groundbreaking radio campaign that's set to virtually transform how homes are sold in our community.
Are you looking to sell your home? Imagine your listing highlighted as not just a home of the week, but receiving continuous, exclusive attention on the airwaves until it sells. That's right. Every single Sherry Ethell Team Long Realty listing will now be featured regularly, ensuring maximum exposure to maximize your speed of sale.
Here's how it works. Each week, we'll spotlight all of our current listings in individual, engaging, and detailed 30-second radio ads. Whether you're selling a cozy starter home, a luxurious estate, or anything in between, your property will be heard by thousands of potential buyers in our local area. This innovative approach guarantees that your home remains top of mind for listeners until the perfect buyer comes along.
Why choose the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty? Because we're committed to delivering unparalleled service with a personal touch. Our new radio campaign will be just one more way we help reduce the stress of selling your home by giving it the visibility it deserves. We understand that selling a home can be a daunting process, but with your tailored marketing campaign and this kind of presence, it'll be easier and more efficient than ever.
Tune in to Cool 104.1 to hear about the latest listings on our new program we're calling our Home Spotlight Series. Or catch the Keepin' It Real radio show every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. for the latest real estate tips from the experts. Weekend open houses, awesome charity opportunities, great happenings in our community, and wonderful interviews with youth sports coaches and athletes.
So don't miss out on this unique opportunity to have your home featured in our exclusive radio campaign. List with Sherry Ethell Team Long Realty today and experience the magic of real estate marketing like never before.
For more information, give us a call at 717-599-2439. Sherry Ethell Team Long Realty, behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard right here in Sierra Vista, where your home story is told until it's sold. Remember, with us, it's not just about selling houses. We make success stories for a living. Stay tuned, stay informed, and let's help you find your perfect home. All right, welcome back. This is Keepin' It Real. I'm Dion Ethell, and I'm here with Lisa Gustafson, and we are keeping it real with CASA. And if you're just tuning in, CASA is the court-appointed special advocate. And so this group of people are helping, a number of children throughout the county, and we're really throughout the state, but we're talking about kind of our little community, and we're talking to a couple of folks here, Abby Dodge, the CASA director, and Karen Spitler, one of our volunteers for CASA. And I think we were talking about at the break some things about funding.
Yeah, well, we were curious. We were talking about training. If they do go to Phoenix, the volunteers, you do provide the cost for that, correct, Abby?
Right. Where if the volunteer travels to training, if they go to Tucson, if they go to Phoenix, wherever they go in the state, we do provide them a hotel room for their stay up there. And we provide mileage reimbursement to and from and per diem for meals.
Yeah.
So that's the one time that we're able to offset
out
any costs that they have. Right?
And so that brought me to thinking when the volunteers, like when Karen is out and she has these kids and she mentioned she's taking them to McDonald's or out for ice cream, that's an expense, whether it be minimal or you have 4 kids. That's something that the volunteers would take care of themselves, or is that where somebody else can come in and help out?
So ultimately that is up to the volunteer whether they pay for that out of pocket or if they seek funding for that. We have a nonprofit here in Cochise County called the Cochise County Council for CASA. They're a 501c3 that helps support kids that are in the foster care and kinship care system.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So they will provide reimbursement for CASAs if they take their kiddos out for an activity or to get something to eat, or they help any of the kids that are in the system with sports registration fees, clothing needs.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that,
really
like clothing, because I
anything that
imagine
they
some
need.
of them, they're kind of maybe even in a bad situation to start with, and they don't have a lot of clothing. How do they get that taken care of when they're brought in and that intake is occurring? Are they getting some of those needs met through this
Simple
group?
things, personal toiletries, I can imagine
Yeah.
things, anything like that.
So the Department of Child Safety does really well at helping with that transition, and they have some things that they're able to provide immediately. But then, yes, at that first court hearing that happens within 5 to 7 days of the removal of a child, that's one of the questions that gets asked of the attorneys, the child welfare worker, and the placement and family. Are there any immediate unmet needs for support?
Sure.
That the Cochise County Council for CASA can assist with. And then that can put that in motion immediately. They can provide gift cards so the family can go do their own shopping. We try not to be super invasive that way. We don't ask for the receipts back. That way they can go get what they need when they need it and help stabilize the children.
And I guess the reason why is I would never want somebody to not volunteer because the cost.
They're worried about the expense.
They're you have this wonderful volunteer, but maybe they, don't have that kind of extra spending. But the council would come in and help out with that, which I think is phenomenal and definitely something people need to know.
There's time, money, and talent out there, and sometimes it's one or sometimes it's all of them, and it's great. You take what you can get when you're looking for volunteers. I can relate to that.
Right, and our expectation is never for the volunteer to be spending a lot of money out of pocket. That's not the purpose of their relationship with the kids or anything, but we do have that support available when it is needed. And while we're on that topic, they're on the Arizona Department of Revenue's list of qualifying foster care charitable organizations.
Oh, okay.
So when people are doing their taxes, if they choose to have their Arizona tax burden diverted over to the Cochise County Cochise County Council for CASA, this is how we're getting it back to the community.
Yeah. That is very cool. We work
through CASA. We do a couple times a year. They do just a big gift card distribution for every child that's in care for back to school supplies or for Christmas presents or whatever. Whenever they have extra money lying around, they try to get it back into the hands of those kids as quickly as they can. And
that's a great point, Abby. A lot of people don't realize this, and I'm certainly not a CPA or an accountant of any kind. So, go to your tax professional. But, I know when we go do our taxes with our CPA, he always has a bunch of different charitable, donation pouches that he kind of gives you an envelope and you can send it off and everything.
Do you ever get past the animal part of it,
I
Dion?
do, actually. CASA's one of mine.
Now, so I love that.
We've had some friends in there, and for us, not just in the state or anything, I'd rather give my money at the end rather than pay a tax. I'd rather give it to a child or an organization that's doing really good work right here in my own community.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you can do that
important.
too. So I really, if you're getting somebody to do your taxes, definitely ask them about that, because it's a great way to use those tax dollars for something that's really productive right here in our own community.
Yeah.
So very cool.
That is.
Kind of circling back to the actual process and everything. So now we kind of gotten to know, okay, so you're kind of taking care of a lot of the reporting. You're doing an advocacy kind of at the proceedings and everything with court. What else are we missing? What else do you maybe do that we
give us
haven't
a day in the
touched
life.
on? Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to vary by volunteer and by the age of the child.
Sure, that makes sense.
But, I've been involved with, gone to the school and participated in a classroom event.
Okay.
I hope I get invited to an award ceremony.
Yeah.
They're shooting for some awards.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
And I take them to therapy just because it's kind of where I pick them up and they know they're going to go and they like to go, which is great. And then we do the ice cream or something afterwards. I'm very friendly with the placement, kinship placement.
Sure.
They're very receptive to CASA being there, and
they probably welcome you being there and helping out with the kids, I would imagine, because there's that kind of breaks down the wall a little bit.
Sure.
I feel like that would help for what you're involved in and all the people involved, all of the agencies involved.
Yeah, I think it's going to vary a lot from the situation.
Sure.
Depending on how people feel about DCS being involved in the first place.
Right.
It's a tricky situation.
Right.
Sure. Everyone is different,
they're not feeling
right?
warm and fuzzy,
Yeah.
I'm guessing, if DCS
But I just always try to be respectful of their time and consider, what's your schedule like? How can I fit in to your household, as opposed to demanding, I want to see the girls today, or, the kids at 5:00.
Right. No, well, that makes sense. I was kind of going through my mind, too, the same thing. I was thinking about, well, what on the flip side, so if, like you were talking about where they're staying, maybe it's, some place that they know, whether it be a friend or a family member, or maybe it's a house, like you were talking about, some kind of a other kind of facility. But some of these people probably aren't super happy that you're there. How does that work? What are the challenges there?
I mean, you're not wrong. There's a lot of people that get involved very quickly when a case opens, and a lot of people need to come into the home, or they need to see this, or they need to see you at this time, and there's just so many appointments. So we always just encourage our volunteers to do what Karen does and find an area that you can be helpful, that you can fit in, and then you just get your foot in the door that way. Like, she gives rides to different appointments, and that takes something off of the placement's plate that they would be expected to do.
Right.
So that was kind of her way in the door, right? So now she's got a great relationship with them.
Right. So wherever they're staying, kind of jump in, and you want them to know you're there to help. What can I do? Where do I fit in, and what helps you out? Which probably helps.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I think they appreciate my involvement at this point.
You could come to my house. I would totally appreciate some rides.
Like, give you a ride somewhere?
Yes. No, not me, my kids. You could take,
Yeah, right.
But I'm saying that's huge, and people appreciate that, and probably helps lighten the load a little bit, I would imagine. But because this is not a good time when this happens. Let's be real about that. For all intents and purposes, this is a time when it's very difficult. There is trauma. There is something going on in these families, and boom, you have all these different agencies involved.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming.
And I think it's really important to remember that CASA is a volunteer, and that really sets the CASA apart, because they're doing this because they want to.
True.
Right.
This isn't
so true.
Their livelihood. This isn't their career path. This is something that they've chosen to do. So leveraging that when getting to know somebody and just reminding, I am doing this on a volunteer basis. I think that can help too. You're not part of the system per se.
Yeah.
Do you think that helps even with the other folks? So obviously there's a mom or a dad, or a mom and dad, that are part of this equation and everything, and they've just got their kids pulled out, and so there probably a lot of anxiety or anger or other things going on too, and now you've got all these people coming in, but the CASA is being a volunteer. Is that kind of nice in some ways to be able to have somebody who's a little, like you said, they're not part of the system. They're kind of an in between, and they're just like you and I. And
what do you? Yeah. What do you think?
What do you guys think?
I would love to hear what both of you think about that. Karen, I'm going to come to you first. Do you think it helps the fact that you are a volunteer?
Do they see you differently than they do, say, the court or the other people, DCS and stuff?
Well, but it is important to realize that I am appointed by the court to participate. Okay. And so in some ways,
you're still connected.
That sounds like, I have a little heft,
Okay, yeah.
I don't mean to make it sound that way, but certain people really are obligated to give me information.
Yeah.
And with dealing with the parents, it's going to be very different, depending on what their situation is at this point in time, if they're engaging or not engaging, or in jail or not in jail.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
There's different levels of participation or your ability to engage with all the different players.
Right.
So going back, that just made me think of another question. When you have these cases, and Karen is newer, but for people that have been involved in a case from beginning to end, when these cases end, do the volunteers still maintain some type of relationship, or have they built a friendship?
It's really a case by case, and it depends on the children, and it depends on where they finally end up. If they're back with their parents, which we hope that that's the case.
That is the game.
If the parents are receptive to it and they're open to it, then yes, they can continue. It's no longer an official relationship of any sort.
Right.
It's just you become kind of a friend of the child and of the family.
Yeah. Wow.
But some people, they want to leave the system and have
be
no
done.
more reminder, and that's their choice.
That's their choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Huh. Well, let's take a quick break. This is the Sherry Ethell Team, and this is Keepin' It Real. I'm Dion Ethell, and I'll be right back with more information from CASA. We'll be right back.
We're the real wayfinders, the trailblazers, the go-getters. In a town where the desert wakes before dawn, we don't just talk, we make things happen. And when we speak, it's real, it's genuine, and it's worth hearing. Tune in every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. on Cool 104.1 FM. Join the Sherry Ethell Team for Keepin' It Real, where top realtors, local heroes, and the heartbeat of our community come together. Raw, authentic conversations, expert market insights, and the best local events you can't afford to miss. Keepin' It Real, celebrating our community. Bold, genuine, one of a kind.
Do uneasy markets have you waiting? Remember the name Sherry Ethell and the Sherry Ethell Team. Visit the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard in Sierra Vista. Call or text 717-599-2439 or Google us for more information. Real integrity, real results.
All right, welcome back to Keepin' It Real. I'm Dion Ethell. I'm your host, and I'm here with Lisa Gustafson from CoolFM, and she's helping me co-host.
Yes, I love hanging out here in the Long Realty studios with you and doing this. This is, we always learn something new. We always meet some interesting people, and today is definitely no exception to that rule.
Well, and that's a great point, Lisa. We do these shows so that people can hear what we hear. We get all this exposure to other businesses, other organizations and charities and things. And it's so great to see what's really being done behind the scenes in our own community that we probably maybe didn't have access to or didn't know about before. And so this is a great way to bring that to light. Now, I wanted to ask a question that we didn't get to before, and that was about, you were talking about the funding and you were talking about this 501c3. How do they get their money then to pay for all that stuff? Do they fundraise? Do they get their money? I mean, you touched on a little bit, but...
So their primary funding source is that Arizona tax credit.
Yeah.
But then they also get a good chunk of money from Southwest Gas. They have a really amazing employee giving program, the Fuel for Life program. And they choose 3 local nonprofits, I think on a 2-year basis, but I don't really remember. But they keep choosing the Cochise County Council for CASA. So we get, I want to say it's around $20,000 a year from Southwest Gas, but I might be a little bit off on that. Okay.
Now, if somebody wanted to donate to that organization, is there a way to do that?
There is. They have a website. It's www.cochisecountycouncil.org.
Okay. Well, there you heard it. If you want to donate and give something special to give back to these children who are, gone through some kind of trauma and they're trying to sort it all out and trying to get their family back together again, this is an opportunity to help those people. Now, what about volunteers? So, Abby, help me understand. You said 28%. That was high. That was shocking a little bit. I mean, I got to admit, kind of wrap my head around that number. But you'd like to have more. So if somebody was listening today and they were like, I'm retired or I've got time, I'd like to be able to be involved and help out, how would they do that? Who would they contact?
Perfect. So the first step is to go to our website. It's www.casaofcochisecounty.org. On that website, it gives information about our program, and there's a little Apply Now link on the left-hand side. So you fill out a lengthy application. It's going to ask for personal references. It's going to ask criminal history information.
Right.
And the 3 main things that it's going to ask at the top are if you're a U.S. citizen or legal resident, if you're over the age of 21, and whether or not you're employed by the Department of Child Safety. Those are kind of our 3 main qualifiers. And then we have that personal interview that we do. We check references. We do a polygraph examination that is a unique aspect of our program.
That's really
we check
unique.
fingerprints and then we send people to training.
And just for everybody's edification here, and why do you do that? Why so deeply into somebody's background?
We're appointing by the court a volunteer that's going to spend one-on-one time with a child that has experienced significant trauma, and we do not want to further traumatize that child. So we take as many steps as we can to make sure that all of the adults that we provide are on the up and up, and they're not going to further damage these children.
Right.
Because parents, they don't really get a choice in whether or not the CASA spends time with their children. They lose a lot of choice when their child comes into
because
the system.
Of the situation.
Wow.
Right.
But the placement, there's a court order allowing the CASA to see the child. So they might feel obligated to let the child go with the volunteer without knowing much about the volunteer.
Right.
So we're able to at least assure that we have taken all of these steps to make sure that it's a safe,
ahead of time.
safe individual who can spend time with the children.
I think that is great and very much needed. Definitely.
Yeah, I assumed it was something of that sort, but I think it's good for everybody to kind of get to know. And I don't want to scare anybody off who might be a volunteer out there or anything. This is a positive thing. I want people to look at it as a positive nature.
And the polygraph, it's not like the Border Patrol does.
Yeah.
It's not like they show on TV.
What did you do when you were 10 years old?
It's really not. We have this wonderful examiner who travels out here from Prescott, and she makes it as easy as she possibly can.
That's funny. That's funny that you mentioned that.
Right, because
our poly was very difficult.
I was going to say, Dion is well aware of that.
Yeah, ours usually take 30 minutes or less from start to finish, and they only take that long if the volunteer got a little nervous or stumbled through some of the questions. Otherwise, they're pretty quick.
But it's a pretty positive thing too, even for us, it was lengthy, but for a federal agent, you should have some hard questions about your background. And so I kind of understand why, that kind of takes place. And it's good that you're going to that depth, because sometimes too, you see organizations that may be, they're 501c3s and they've got a little interview or they've got a little thing, but it's really pretty light. So I love that you're really taking that level of care.
And our interview is a lot. Maybe Karen remembers it can take upwards
How long
of 2
was
hours.
yours? Oh yeah, really?
And is that a face-to-face initially that you know, after you filled out the application and then you do a face-to-face, and you were there for about 2 hours?
Yeah, and a lot of it just had, because it was very easy to talk, you know? And
they just want to get to know you.
A conversation.
Intrusive.
Right.
It was just
it wasn't
You're not being interrogated.
Give us your biggest strength. What is your biggest weakness? This was more about getting to know you as an individual.
What you're doing, why. Yeah.
Right, we want to make sure that the volunteer understands the role and is willing to make the level of commitment that we need. But then we also want to get to know their background to make sure that we're not harming the volunteer.
Oh, that's a good point.
These situations are difficult, and there's this thing, secondary trauma, vicarious trauma.
Sure.
We don't want to further harm somebody who maybe had a difficult past of their own, so we get into a lot. We go through some scenarios just to see kind of what their instincts might tell them to do in different situations.
What kinds of, that brings up a really good point. So one of the things, that I've been involved with over the years and stuff, because we, in federal law enforcement, we came into contact oftentimes with, you're first on the scene at a motor vehicle accident, you're first on the scene to a lot of different rescues and deaths and things like that. So a lot of traumatic, situations. And so we have peer support, we have other things. Do you have anything like that? And how do you do some self-care for your volunteers?
Right. We definitely encourage self-care. We do a currently monthly peer support group meeting for anyone that wants to attend.
Okay.
We meet over coffee and everyone can kind of share their frustrations, their celebrations, get advice, whatever they need to do. We're always available as program staff for anyone that needs to just vent or ask, what do I do next? I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. Obviously, there's confidentiality at play, so our volunteer self-care has to be kept within our small circle and not talking about their case with their family or anything like that. We keep that very, very separate. But we do offer, and we have usually an annual volunteer barbecue. Things to bring the group together to show, like, hey, you're not doing this alone. There are other people here that have the same level of commitment and are dealing with the same
Yeah,
situation.
it's really helpful to attend those coffees.
Oh, I'm sure. Just talking about it helps a lot. I know from our experiences, a lot of times you hang your trauma on the tree and then you can start the next day and then you hang it on the tree and then you retire and you're like, I got to deal with all that, because you haven't dealt with it. So it's great to be able to talk and to have that resource to be able to kind of get it out there at least. And a lot of that can be avoided just by the talking about it. So that's really, really good. Mm-hmm. What is the one thing that you'd like, that we haven't talked about, that you'd like to kind of bring to light about your organization? If there was one thing that we haven't spoken about.
That is a difficult question. I think we covered a lot.
We have covered a
lot of territory, right?
We really did.
We like to dig deep here, Abby, and learn.
We're starting to get good at it.
We really
I know that CASA volunteers, I began working with the program because I became a CASA volunteer first, and it's just a very important program to me. I just got too busy with my own kids and life to fit everything in. So that was how I made it fit, was by coming to work for the program. But I just have such a high level of respect for each one of my volunteers, for what they bring to the table and how they keep showing up. I know our judge that hears most of our dependency cases, he says his favorite people are CASAs and placements and CASAs. He repeats it that way every time he's in court. So there's just that admiration and appreciation that exists in the system for all of our volunteers. And I wanted to spotlight that a little bit, because they're out there doing amazing things, and we don't always tell them that as often as we should. So if any of you are listening, we do love you.
You are
and
so
we appreciate
important.
Everything that you do.
And to you, Karen, what would you say, we kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, if there's somebody who's thinking about it, what would be that one piece of advice? Somebody's listening, or someone's on the website and they're looking at the information. What would you say to them to get them involved?
Just make the application or send a request for information, and get a conversation going. And it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't cost anything.
Sure.
To gather information.
Yeah.
And get questions answered. Ask to talk to a CASA.
It doesn't mean you have to, you could go, I'm guessing you could go and have an interview, and either side could be like, this maybe isn't for you.
Right.
But at least you've gone and you're not committed once you fill out that application. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if someone feels after talking, with your organization, maybe this isn't for me, that's okay.
Right.
But still get in there, and if it's something you're even remotely considering.
I agree. That's a very good point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't have any hard feelings. If you come to an interview, we talk to you a lot about what our expectations are, and you're like, you know what? Maybe now's not a good time. We'd rather know that now than after we've paired you up with the kid and you've met them, and now you're having to explain why
that'd be so
you're
tough.
not going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
So.
When we're talking about, recruitment in terms of volunteers and everything, and we're hoping that somebody out here listening today is thinking about this and thinking about the possibilities. So what a great service to your community and service to these children to be able to be a CASA volunteer. Now, obviously, like you said, it's not for everybody, but what are some of the positives, I guess, in terms of the job that you think, Abby, and then just what's the time commitment? Really, what's the level of commitment that these guys are going to make?
That's an excellent question. So there's a nationwide program, CASA. National CASA is our big umbrella organization.
Sure.
They've determined that volunteers usually spend between 15 and 20 hours a month on their case. But that's an all-inclusive number. That's reading the files that are being filed with the court. That's seeing the children. That's attending any meetings, attending court, writing a report.
Sure.
It's going to kind of vary from month to month what those hours look like, but a lot of it can be done on your own time. Obviously, court happens between 8 and 5 on Monday through Friday. You don't really get to pick.
Right.
Most of the meetings happen in that same scheduled time frame, but you do have more of a say in when those are set. But the time you spend with the children, you schedule that on your own. You decide when you can pick up the phone and make a phone call to ask a question or to learn more about the situation. So Karen can correct me if she thinks she's probably spending more than 15 to 20 hours a month, but she's...
And if you want to, you can, right?
You can, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really up to the individual how much time they have.
Right.
I happen to have a lot. So I'm
Being
happy
retired
to
is
share.
a good thing, yeah. So you choose to give back a little bit more because you have the time, and that's awesome.
Right.
But we don't have a minimum amount of time that has to be spent. That's just kind of
Okay.
what the average has been determined. We do have that minimum, see the child at least once per month.
Right, and you
Right,
already
right.
stated you were once a week, but so it does. It you know,
Varies.
it doesn't mean that somebody that doesn't have a part-time job or a full-time job could even do this. It's doable if that's where your passion is. I'm guessing that's something that can absolutely be done.
I did do this when I worked full-time. I worked full-time
did you
for
really?
Huachuca, and thankfully at that point, I had a pretty flexible schedule. So if I needed to pop out for an hour, I
Right.
could stay an hour later. I didn't have to burn through all my PTO. But court is usually scheduled in advance. You know about a court hearing
yeah,
Sure.
maybe
absolutely.
3 months in advance. So you can kind of plan for that. Ever since the pandemic, most of our meetings are done virtually.
Okay.
So you can hop out to the parking lot, do a 30-minute meeting, and go back into work kind of thing.
Yeah.
We do encourage CASAs to let their employer know that that's what they're doing, that they're becoming a CASA. We found a lot of employers are actually
Pretty
really
flexible.
open to that.
Yeah.
If they
bet.
just know that that's what you're doing.
Well, that's awesome too. That's
Right.
really cool that employers are kind of understanding what kind of commitment they're doing, and what a good thing for the community anyway.
Yeah.
So
And then we as staff are always able to sit in. If there's something that comes up that you just can't make it to as a volunteer, I can go to court. I'm not going to speak for you, but if you send me a statement, I will read the statement.
Okay.
This is not my case. They're not my assigned children. I
Sure.
don't really know them that way. So,
Yeah.
but I will read whatever is told. I'm there to take notes. Same with any meetings or anything else. We can't really go meet your children for you and take them out.
Right.
right.
That kind of outdoes the purpose, but the rest
Sure.
of the logistical stuff we can always assist with if something comes up.
Such an amazing program, and I highly encourage everybody. And I've said this before. You know, we had Abby on CoolFM Live. We did an interview with her. I want everyone to know the wealth of information on your website alone. There is the videos they have, the testimonials they have, a lot of questions. So get on, even jump on that website, play around. And hopefully this is a move that, you know, is something for you, and make that call, get that request for information, right,
Yeah.
Karen?
Just do it.
Let's
And
do
you
it.
you guys would help them, you know, if somebody came in and like, I'm not sure if it's a good fit. You're going to help kind of walk them through what that looks like, and they can talk about their personal situation. You guys can determine whether or not it really is a great fit.
Absolutely. We get phone calls like that all of the time. People asking,
Do ya?
I'm not really sure what your program is about. I don't know if it's for me. So we'll kind of explain the different aspects of it and what we expect from people. We have plenty of CASAs too who are willing to meet somebody new. If somebody's interested and they're not sure, we can put them in touch with somebody who's actively working as a CASA.
I love that.
And they can
Yeah.
pick
That's
their
very
brain
cool.
as well.
very
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Very
that's
cool.
good. That's really good. Well, I really appreciate you guys being on the show today. Maybe you could give me one last time for those people who are thinking about becoming a CASA volunteer. What's the website again?
Sure, it's www.casaofcochisecounty.org.
Okay. And they've got a little button there that you can click to.
There is. There's an apply now link on the left. Our contact information is on the website.
Perfect.
If perchance somebody's listening that doesn't live in Cochise County, you can get to any of the other county programs from that website as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, you heard it right here. This is Keeping It Real, and we've been keeping it real with CASA, the court-appointed special advocate, and we've learned so much from you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
You're
you for having
welcome.
us.
Thank you.
And thank you, Lisa, for being my co-host again today.
I just love you. Are very welcome. I love
awesome.
hanging out here. We're just going to keep doing
We're
this.
going to do it again.
All right.
All right, this is Sherry Ethell Team, Long Realty Studios, keeping it real. We'll be right back after a few brief messages, and then we'll be back again next week. So we'll see you soon. Tax time is here, but before you spend your refund, consider real estate with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty. It's a great way to move from renter to homeowner and on the road to building wealth.
Hi, I'm Sherry Ethell, Realtor and Team CEO of the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty. Think of me as your guide to all things real estate. I tailor my approach to your needs and, most importantly, your goals. It's time to come see me and get a plan for your success.
Discover excellence in real estate with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty, your premier choice in Cochise County. Visit Sherry at Long Realty behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard in Sierra Vista. Call or text 717-599-2439 or Google us for more information. Real integrity, real results.
That brings us to the end of another Keepin' It Real radio show, and we just want to say a big thank you for letting us be a small part of your weekend. Whether you're a longtime listener or just caught us for the first time today, we're so glad you're here. Got something you'd love us to talk about? Maybe a local story, a cool event, maybe a guest idea. Maybe you're related to or know someone who has an interesting story, profession, or past. We would love to hear from you. So drop it in our Keepin' It Real suggestion box at Long Realty. We're located just behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard. Or if it's easier, you can email me directly at sherry@sherryetthelteam.com or call me or text me at 717-599-2439. This is your show, and it's all about our community, our connections, and the what's up of Cochise County, and as always, keeping things real. And your voice will help shape what we do next. We'll see you next Saturday from 7 to 8 a.m. right here on 104.1 Cool FM, making radio cool again.
Stay safe and stay cool, Cochise County, and keep it real.
What's in a name? Everything. Long Realty has been a cornerstone of Southern Arizona's real estate market for nearly 100 years. Our name is our bond, and our agents are our strength. Trust in the name that stands for experience and expertise. Visit longrealty.com or call 520-459-4993 to connect with an agent today. Long Realty. Smart move.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Keepin' It Real radio show. Join us next Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. for more engaging interviews with top realtors and industry leaders, keeping you informed about the latest trends in real estate. Stay connected with us as we bring you updates on the dynamic events shaping our vibrant community. From exciting local happenings to noteworthy charities and causes, we've got you covered. See you next week for another edition of Keepin' It Real.